Welcome, everybody. Welcome back. It is the International Brotherhood of Magicians official podcast. My name's Jason Michaels, joined by my cohorts, Ben Young, Scott Cantrell. Gentlemen, how are you?
We're good,
Good.
Jason.
Why do you always do that? Every single time, both of you pause. Neither one of you jumps out. There's 3 seconds of silence, and I just sit here looking at you, and I'm just like, here we go again.
Because now we have to do it. Done it so many times, we have to do it.
We think it's nice for the viewers and the listeners to have that sort of suspense of how are we doing?
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about what have you guys been up to since we've last spoken. What's everybody been doing the last couple of weeks?
Ben?
I had to stop and think about it. I've been working at House of Cards both the brunch shows and then doing close up in the week. Had a good magician friend of mine, Braden Carlisle from Colorado, come stay with me for a few days.
I finally got to meet Braden. So
I know.
I've heard about Braden for years. You guys have been big buddies. Yeah. So you guys do shows together as well sometimes.
Yeah. He's in the sort of the extended Denver area, and we do a show there about once a year. We do it together in Boulder, and it's like a family friendly show. Super fun. He's a great family performer. Does shows in theaters all over the place. Goes on tour. Does the whole thing. So it was great to see him, and he hadn't been to House of Cards
give
before.
Him a plug? Did he slip you a little extra cash? So hey, mention my name on the podcast. Is that what happened?
Not ahead of time.
Oh, okay.
I will be sending a Venmo request. But he hadn't been to House of Cards, and he had his girlfriend with him, and so it was very cool to show them how awesome that place is. Anyone that hasn't been there, you should come to Nashville and see it.
Yeah, we should talk about that sometime. We should do like an in-depth House of Cards. Maybe we can get Joey to jump on the.
Yeah,
that'd be fun. We'll do that.
Sick. Yeah. So that's what I've been up to.
Good, Scotty. What you been doing?
Well, it's been a minute since I've connected. I unfortunately missed the Ken Scott interview, but I know it went great. And as we're recording this, we're just days away from the Atlanta Harvest, the convention coming up in Atlanta. Sorry, I won't be able to be there. And sorry I missed that interview, but staying reasonably busy with normal day job work. But then I was part of a public show. We did 2 shows a little bit east of Nashville a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, right.
In a nice theater.
Yes. Yeah. How did that go? Because I was bummed that I couldn't like come out to the show or participate in any way. Tell me about it. Like I know that there was was Dave Mays part of it?
Yeah.
Dave Mays.
Now going by his real name again, David.
Is he? Oh, he's not Dave Mays anymore?
Yeah. So I hadn't seen him in literally years. And so it was great to see him and catch up. And then Anthony the balloon kid, who's not a balloon kid anymore, was the producer, kind of celebrating his 25 years in doing entertainment and balloons in the Middle Tennessee area. And this, I mean, he's the best balloon artist. No offense, Vorjahan. He's the best balloon artist I know. Actually, I would put him and Vorjahan up there next to each other. Tom can pretty much create anything. Just give him grid paper and a calculator and he can do it. And Anthony is incredibly talented. So it's fun to perform with them. Gary Flegel was on the show and did a nice job. So it was fun. It was the audiences were great. The theater was a great venue. And both shows went really well.
What did you do on the show?
I did magic and
okay.
No, I did what did I do? I did there were 2 sets. Everybody did 2 sets basically. I did magic in the first set, juggling in the second set. For my magic set, I did a little bit of comedy minimalism stuff.
Oh, okay.
I did I put together kind of a unique
shouldn't
set.
Have even asked, should I? You just never should have brought it up.
You know what, Jason? If you want to know what I did, you should have come to the show.
Should have been there. Should have been there.
It was fun. It was good. The audience was very kind. It was well received. I did do a couple of new things that I'd been working on, variations of, and they went well. So I'll probably keep them as they are. And then last weekend, this last Sunday, there's a small show in a venue, a kava lounge nearby to where I live, and I was part of a show there. and you know, a small audience, but a fun audience. And
Cool.
got to perform with Brian Height, who's kind of the producer of the show and a professional stuntman from Hollywood who lives in Nashville now. And then Larry Courtwright, who you both know,
Yeah.
was on the show and did a nice job. So that's probably going to
Cool.
be a monthly show that's going to happen with different magicians participating. So yeah, fun
Cool,
stuff.
cool, fun. Hey, do you guys? Let me ask you a question, just real quick. I mean, I've been somewhat busy. I've had a couple different speaking engagements. Interestingly enough, I was up in Colorado, where you said Braden lives. I had a speaking engagement up there. We both flew to Nashville the same day. I got here, and from what I understand, Braden did not.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
no, I mean, his
Yeah.
plane, it didn't not make it. It just he didn't get here. So problematic.
So is that it? That's all. That's the whole story
That's
we
all you
get.
get. No, he did make
Yeah.
it, but apparently it
It-
involved renting a car, driving 8
yeah.
hours,
Okay,
one of those
Yeah.
situations.
gotcha.
Yep.
So,
Yep. And then on the way back,
uh-oh.
there was someone, and they had like a 7 a.m. flight. They had someone on their plane who was belligerently drunk,
At
and
7 a.m. Well,
at
see you
7
later,
a.m.
Nashville, right? That's what happens here.
Exactly. And so they were about to take off, and they had the police come on
Oh,
and
wow.
drag her off. And I actually, someone filmed it, and I mean, he was literally dragging her off, but she would not. And this isn't like, oh, he should have done better. Like, she was not willing to, not willing to move, and he was like, "You gotta go." And then it turns out that she was. I'll be careful what I say so that we don't have this video taken down. But she was threatening various things that could make a plane go boom.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
and so yeah, so then they
Golly.
had to clear the plane. Everyone had to get off, and they had to inspect the
Oh,
entire
Oh
plane
wow.
for 2 hours before everyone could get back on.
that's
So yeah.
man, the world is crazy out there, and that is why we need more magic in the world. Isn't that right, IBM folks?
Yep.
This is what
Welcome
I
to the
tell.
podcast.
Yeah.
I actually tell people this all the time. Anytime I meet a young person, or it doesn't have to be a young person, it can just be somebody who's into magic and they're like, oh, I used to do magic or I like magic or, whatever. I always say, hey, listen, we need more magic in the world. The world is pretty crazy out there. And if you can create smiles, if you can make people laugh, if you can give them that wonderful moment of amazement, we need that. And that's one of the cool things that, um, you know, members of the IBM folks who gather together, magicians, when they get together, we certainly learn magic and enjoy each other's company. Speaking of IBM things, do you guys get the electronic, the online newsletter? Do you guys get the e-newsletter?
Yeah,
Of course.
absolutely.
So, here's what's interesting. It's so funny. The other day, I got an email from the office, the IBM office, and it was like, "Hey, Jason, can you field this email?" And it was somebody asking about something, and I said, "Here are the details. Just so you know, we announced it in the e-newsletter." And the guy goes, "Oh, well, how do I sign up for that?" Now, and I kind of give him the instructions. Then he goes, and then I get another email from him a few minutes later. He goes, "I've been getting these for 6 months, and I've never clicked on them."
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was like, come on, man. You had the answer in your inbox and you didn't even need to reach out. No, but to the point is, listen, hey, I'm going to give you guys the reason I bring it up is because there is a magic show out there right now that is getting ready to get ready to go on tour. It's called How. With a exclamation mark and an exclamation point and a question mark. How Magic Show. It stars Boris Wilde, the FISM winner, Javier Botia, Shoddy Ice, Kalina, Callista, and the Ark. And they are getting ready to tour in the United States. They're touring starting in like literally just the very beginning of October. So like right as this podcast hits, you'll in select cities like Brooklyn and Detroit, Chicago, Philly, Miami. They're going to be in all these different cities. And the reason I bring it up is because if you get the IBM e-newsletter, then you had the opportunity. The last one went out, and there was a 10% off tickets for that magic show. And so I just bring that up because sometimes people, I've heard people say things like, oh, I don't know what's going on in the world of magic. And I'm like, all you have to do is go to magician.org. And if you go to magician.org, the very first thing that pops up on that website is literally a pop-up that says, hey, join our newsletter. All you have to do is put your email address in, and then you'll start getting these newsletters. And the cool thing about the newsletter is that we discuss, there's different stuff in there. There's different stuff. Like, for instance, we'll tell you about the latest news about who's going to appear at the convention. There's a link for our online magic club. You guys, I know you know this, but I'm just going to pretend like you don't. You guys know we have an online magic club, right?
A what?
I know.
You're talking
How is
about
that possible?
talking about Ring 2100, right?
Tell us about it, Scott.
That's it. That's all I know.
It's called Ring 2100.
Ring
Very nice.
2100. Does it meet weekly?
No, it meets once a
Monthly.
month. I think
Once a
it's the
month.
third Saturday, to be
Yeah,
honest
I know
with
it's
you.
on Saturday, and it's hosted by Alan Fisher and Ryan Pilling.
Yep.
I think those are the coordinators and organizers of it. I've been on a handful of those sessions. They're always a ton of fun. Those
Yep.
guys do a great job coordinating, teching it, hosting, bringing interesting magic, and the themes of the online of Ring 2100 are always really creative and fun. It's it's a fun use. I don't know how long the sessions are. I think they're like, well, they're at least an hour, but I think they may be longer than that. So anyway, I would highly encourage folks to jump on Ring 2100. I think there's a Facebook page too. Is that right, Jason?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there is. All I know is that you get the direct link, you get all the details if you get the e-newsletter.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to mention that this for the last year, look, because I see these things come in, and here's what's the cool thing. So technically, you're supposed to be an IBM member to attend Ring 2100,
Yeah.
but for the last 12 months solid, every single month they have held an open house meeting just because they just want look, magicians love magic, and while the IBM certainly wants you to be a part of our organization, we just want to enrich the world with more magic. And so what Alan Fisher and what Ryan Pilling do and what they've done for the last 12 months, they've literally held these online meetings. You don't even have to be an IBM member. All you have to do is love magic, want to attend. You don't even have to do a magic trick. You can just attend and watch. But if you have a magic trick, and they say, like you said, they'll have a theme, but they also will have, like, show us your collection
Yeah.
or the latest thing that you purchased. You don't even have to do a trick. We just want you to be involved. So, like, this is the perfect type of thing for folks who might live in a place where they don't have an actual club that gets together. Or maybe for whatever reason, maybe maybe you're a little bit elderly and it's hard for you to see at night, and so it's harder for you to get out to go to the club meetings. Maybe you're hospitalized and you're looking for things to do. There's all sorts of different reasons why you might not be able to show up in person, but yet you can still meet. You can still get together online. So you can access it via your phone, your computer, your laptop, whatever it happens to be. I think it's cool what they're doing, and I just really wanted to give it a plug. Now, I will say this about, so like I said, if you sign up for the e-newsletter every single month, you get that link. Let me just mention this one thing about the e-newsletter. If you start getting the e-newsletter and you go, oh, there's nothing in here for me this month, and you go, you know what, I'm just going to opt out of this. Do not do that. And the reason I tell you not to opt out is because the way email laws work is that if you opt out from an email from the International Brotherhood of Magicians, we can never email you to that email address again, ever. And I'm not talking about just the e-newsletter. I'm talking about anything. We can't send you information that you may want. So the next time something cool happens, we're like, hey, here's some cool news about something that's going to be in your area, you will not receive it. So if for some reason you're reading and you're like, this is boring, just delete it and hope that the next month is a big winner for you. So anyway, so I was reading The Linking Ring the other
No
day.
no segue. He's just going to keep going. This is the Jason Michael soliloquy.
Hey, no, this is your opportunity. Go ahead, jump in there. Was there something you wanted to add to that, Ben?
Not particularly.
I just
sort
like
of,
how you just inserted yourself just so that you could criticize the direction of this podcast.
Look, I'm here for the viewers and the listeners, and I just think they needed to hear a different voice for a couple of
That's
seconds.
right.
Scott,
That's
you got
absolutely.
anything?
Nope.
All right, let's go.
Okay, so if I was reading the linking ring the other day, in most cases that means I was doing something else as well. Any guesses?
Why?
I don't want to guess. I really
Ben,
don't want to.
for
I
those
don't make us guess. Please don't make us guess the answer to this question. Please don't make us guess the answer to this question.
So for those of you listening to the podcast, Ben was put out his arms like they were wings, and he was going back and forth. And poor Scott had the look on his face when I said, "Can you guess what I was doing?" That was fantastic. No, I was flying on an airplane. So as the folks who listen to the podcast frequently know, I save up my linking rings because I get on airplanes occasionally. I like to have things to do other than just listen to podcasts. But dude, let me I read one of my favorite things I've ever read in a magic magazine the other day in the linking ring. So if you don't know what the linking ring is, it is the magazine that the I.B.M puts out. It's awesome. It's a lot of fun. Every month there are different contributors, and one of the columnists is Brian Lead, and he is the column is called From Our UK Correspondent. And Brian Lead is from the United Kingdom, and he wrote in this. I'm sorry. So first off, let me just mention which one it is. This one, I grabbed one that was a little bit older. This one is the one that has Jim Magus on the front cover, and this is from May of this year, May 2025. So so Brian Lead was writing about some historical British magicians, and he writes in the article. He says he said he's going to write. He was going to mention a specialty act from the days of variety, which you are unlikely to have heard of. And this specialty act, her name is Edna Squire Brown, and her act, she had a bird act. Now her bird act is a little different than what we're used to seeing in today's magic world. So I'm gonna literally I'm gonna quote this. So I'm just gonna quote what was written because I just made me laugh. She wore a flimsy diaphanous costume with doves perched in strategic places to protect her modesty. The late comedy writer and television presenter Dennis Norden recalled that binoculars were banned in the audience, but people would throw bird seed onto the stage in a vain attempt to distract the birds. They weren't trying to distract the birds. They were trying to get the birds to take off and eat the bird seed. I thought to myself, I would have loved to have seen this act.
I'm sure, Jason.
Can you imagine going to like a night of variety theater and all of a sudden this young girl walks out and there's birds perched in all like you can see through her clothing except where the birds are perched on her person. Like that is nuts. Come on.
I had a different anticipation for what this conversation was going to be.
Oh God.
I thought we were talking about AGT.
We are going to talk about AGT, but
she just got the golden buzzer. There we go. And she just got the golden buzzer.
I'm sorry, did you say golden buzzard like a bird? So did she do anything, or did she just
I don't know.
stand there?
This was the act back then. It's like, hey, here's a girl. You can see through her clothes. She has birds covering up her places.
It's really not fair to the people that wanted to bring binoculars because you know that they're just bird watchers. They wanted to identify the birds.
Oh my gosh.
I know is I have a new idea for my FISM act.
There you go. There you go. Scott's got an idea. I like it.
You almost made me do a spit take. It's close.
There were two other things I wanted to mention in this the May edition, and granted, hilariously, this is the October edition of the podcast, and I'm reading the May edition of the Linking Ring. But anyway, there
Well,
was an
that's just it.
article.
The linking ring is evergreen. You can go back and find great
Oh,
stuff.
100%. Yeah. So there was an article titled Mastering Black Art, A Guide to Making It Invisible. Now, just for the record, I really have not seen articles like this very often in the Linking Ring or really any magic magazines. But this was now I have experience with black art because um, I've worked in the world of illusion, big magic tricks, making things appear and disappear on stage. But this is not what this article was about. It was an article on page 41. I'm probably going to butcher the poor article, the author's name, but it's Gleb Tsaroff. And this article is all about using black art in a close-up setting. Like the type of material, because Gleb outlines the different types of material you can use and like what setting the different material works best in. He outlines the different types of lighting and how to use it properly. Like, to be honest with you, dudes, uh, I was really intrigued. I was like, this is one of the more interesting, like, technical articles on how to actually execute really good close-up magic, and especially in today's world where people are like filming it for like TikTok and all this other stuff. So I just wanted to mention this because this is one of these things. There are a lot of people who read the Linking Ring, but if you're not a member of the IBM and you don't know about it, you just don't know what they're putting out there into the world, and it's really good stuff. The last thing I thought I would share about that is David Ginn's. I've talked about David Ginn's columns before. He had this column was about. It said it was the 10 things he learned from Carol Fox. Now, technically, Carol Fox was around when I was in Magic, but I wasn't going to Magic. I wasn't going to like Magic conventions back then, in my early days. So, unfortunately, from what I understand about Carol Fox was a hoot. I mean, hilarious. Just, one of the great characters of the Magic world. But anyway, in the article, David Ginn, I just thought I would just give you this out of the 10. Here's the one I picked to share. And it's an interesting point. And Carol Fox taught that no one wants to be first. And his reason is because bookers won't take a chance with something new and different if they can go back to something tried and true.
Mm.
What do you guys think about that?
I think as a rule of thumb, it's 100% correct. And I don't think it's much different today. I think one potential difference today in terms of the opportunity to be first with a new idea or a new premise or a new style or something is we have ways to go first without taking major risk.
It's
It's
a good
called
point.
social media, right? And so in that sense, you can throw stuff out, and it's easier for it to be disseminated amongst people that you might want to see it and get feedback from. And so you can be first in that way. Now, if you're talking about, we're going to do a whole new touring show and put in all this money, and we're going to be first, and we're going to be the only ones that do X, Y, and Z, and fingers crossed, I hope it works. No, I mean that's still very difficult to pull that off. But there are ways to test to determine what might work now that did not exist, right? That they're ubiquitous today that just absolutely didn't exist then. So,
Yeah, very true. And it also simultaneously speaks to how difficult it can be to get started.
mm,
If
Oh,
you're looking at like someone who has been a hobbyist, enjoys magic, and is wanting to book their first few gigs, it can be really hard to do when you don't have the resume, you don't have the social proof, you don't have testimonials, you don't have footage,
great.
whatever it may be. It it can be really discouraging to get going without those things, and so you kind of are just waiting for someone who is willing to sort of give you a chance. But I like what you said, Scott. Like, there's ways to get those things. There's ways to get footage and use social media to your advantage and that kind of thing to to get going.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. Anyway, I guess I just wanted to point a few things out from the linking ring because I always find something. If I don't always agree with everything that I read in the linking ring, and sometimes that's good because it makes me think about, it helps me define what I do think good magic is, or whatever the specific topic is that I'm reading about. But I will just mention that the linking ring is a real treasure for those of us who love the art of magic and want to continually be educating ourselves. And the more you educate yourself about magic, the bigger your repertoire is, the bigger the more you have things to pull from when you're working on magic. So if somebody says, "Hey, here's an idea for you," and you're like, "How would I pull that off?" If you've been reading the linking ring for the last 3 years, you have a
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
good base of knowledge. So the other day, I was with Stephen Bargatze and my friend Eli Stone, and we did a show in Huntsville at Levity Live, which is a comedy club, and we had a lot of fun. On our drive down, it was about a 2.5 hour drive, maybe a little less. But the point is, we were talking, and I was talking to Eli, and we were just kind of talking about different stuff. It actually became a pretty heavy conversation. It was really, really good. But Eli said something to me that well, here's what I do when I find myself in these conversations. If you're ever talking to me, I bust out my phone and I start looking like I'm texting or something. I'm probably like taking notes as to what you just said so that I can remember it myself. And I found myself taking a bunch of notes. I was looking through the notes
Which was
yesterday.
really risky since you were also driving, but we'll talk about that now.
Stephen was driving.
Okay.
But here's what Eli said, and we're going to use this as a transition. We'll talk about it, but we'll also use it to transition to talk about America's Got Talent. And here's what Eli said. He said, "Whether you do a magic trick or don't, the audience shouldn't care because your communication is true to who you are." And I found it very interesting. But this is one of these things you really have to kind of think about. You're like, okay, Eli comes from the world of music, and he was a very successful uh, musician years ago, and he got out of that business like a decade ago or something like that. But he's literally toured around the world. He wrote hit songs that were played on the radio, and now he's always loved magic, and now he's doing magic, and he's doing more of it. And I just found it a really interesting quote. Whether you do a magic trick or you don't, the audience shouldn't care because your communication is true to who you are. So I wanted to mention this because this was somebody outside of our little circle, the three of us on this podcast. We've talked so many times about how to, share an idea, or, we've talked about humor. We've talked about all this stuff. I just thought it was such an interesting quote. What do you guys, does it bring up any thoughts? Do you guys go, if people are there to see a magic trick, you have to show them a magic trick? What do you think?
I don't want to go
Scott,
first because I'm afraid that someone will want something more tried and true.
Okay, nice
No,
callback.
that's a callback.
that was very good. Which one of us is older, though?
I'm older. Why?
You're more tried, more true.
Oh, that's, I suppose. Yeah, I
Mm.
don't know about that. I'm more tried. I don't know if I'm more true. I'll give my 2 cents on it. I love it. Eli's a friend. And I think at a fundamental level, he's 100% right. And I can't remember. I'm not going to attribute this because I don't remember who to attribute it to. One of you all may remember, or someone watching may remember. But there was a magician, I believe, who basically said your, and again, I'm paraphrasing, but your persona, your presentation should be so entertaining and compelling that the magic is great. It's important, fine, it is what it is, but the presentation and your persona should be so engaging and entertaining that even if no magic happens, the audience should still enjoy themselves. And I don't remember who that's attributed to, but Eli's saying it in a slightly different perspective, slightly different way, but I like it a lot. I think generally I agree. I mean, obviously, if an audience is paying to come see a magician, they want to see some magic. That's the
Right.
point, right?
Right.
So it's not like, but I also know that what Eli's not saying is, you know, you get hired to go do a magic show and you show up and you only do stand-up comedy, it's all going to be fine. He's not saying that. He's
Right.
saying that through your magic, the magic can be secondary. The experience of magic can and maybe often is secondary to the connection that you as a performer are making with the audience and that the audience is making with you. And with that, I I agree. I think
I mean,
you're
I
right.
hate to say it, but I'm going to disagree just on the one thing that I don't think it is that way often. I think sometimes it is that way. I
Mm,
think that when the performer's really dialed in and like you really feel connection to the performer and like they're telling compelling stories and humor and whatnot, I think that it happens then. But I think that I think a lot of magicians, I've seen a lot of magicians, it's just like, hey, let me show you a trick. There's no more to it other than here are the techniques that I understand how to pull off the trick. And
that's a
so
great point.
it's
Maybe I should have
literally,
said
yeah,
the stronger way or the way that I would prefer it being
yeah,
is the aspirational, the aspiration of a performer should be it's not that magic has to be secondary, it's that the persona and the presentation needs to be not secondary.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and he specifically talks about, communicating.
Yeah.
And so it's the caveat of, yes, that's true if these other criteria are fulfilled. Yeah, and the only other thing that I agree and I love it too, and the only thing that I was going to add, which Scott talked about as well, is that there is an expectation. And so you do have to meet the expectations. If people are going to see a magic show, they need to see magic. Now you can exceed those expectations by being true, connecting with them, or even if they're going to a magic show just to see, they think they're just going to see tricks, and you blow them away because you're also really funny or whatever it might be.
Mm.
You can give them more, but you do have to keep the expectations in mind, which Scott already said. So
yeah.
yeah.
That's great. That's great. Well said, gentlemen. Well said. Very nicely done. I wanted to bring that up because Zak Mirz has recently been on America's Got Talent, and I know Zach. We go back a number of years. We were on a similar project. Brock Gill. I know that you know who Brock is, Scott. I'm not sure if you know Brock Ben. Brock is a fantastic illusionist magician. He lived. I think he still lives in the Middle Tennessee area, and I've known Brock for years. And so Brock brought both of us in on a project, and we all. That's how I met Zach, and he's such a nice guy. This incredibly nice guy, and we did this project together. And then I learned through the project that we were working on, I learned sort of his life story, and his life story is nuts. And in prior to doing this podcast several years ago, sort of during the pandemic when people were just doing lots of things trying to, fill their time and figure out what they should be doing, I had a very briefly lived podcast that Stephen Bargatze and I did called Do the Impossible. And we interviewed Zach. And so we got to spend about an hour with Zach and got to really hear his story. And his story is a story that is crazy. Now, I'm going to tell you the truth. His America's Got Talent appearances I watched online because I have not been around very much in the evening to watch the shows themselves at the time that they're aired. So all I got, I don't know if they did a lot on his backstory. All I got was just like him on stage performing his trick and getting the feedback from the judges. So I don't know how much they told about his story, but his story is nuts about he in one of the tricks that I watched him do on America's Got Talent, he talked about how he grew up uh, without a dad. Now, it's not because his dad left. It's because his dad was shot and killed.
Wow.
And it's like, oh, like, he was a business owner and he was like going into the parking lot and somebody pulled up and tried to rob him. And it was just a very tragic story. And
Yeah.
Zach has this incredible um life story. Some people might call it a testimony, but he has this incredible life story of living through that and, kind of, achieving the American dream because his parents, if I remember correctly, his parents were immigrants to the United States. But man, let me tell you something. I was so proud to watch him on America's Got Talent because I think he did a fantastic job. How many did you guys see some of the episodes that he did?
Yeah.
You see some of his clips?
Yeah.
What did
Watch
you
the
guys see?
performance.
Yep.
Because I was able to see 3 of his appearances. What did
That's
you
what I
guys
saw.
see?
Yeah, saw 3. And um, as with so many of these AGT acts, magic is a small world as a rule. And there are just like you and Zach were working with Brock on a project. There are consultants behind the scenes working with these acts, helping them create a commercial piece of magic that's going to be seen by millions of people, and they have hours and days to create something basically from scratch and put it
Right.
on TV, international TV for millions of people. And Daniel Garcia and Brent Braun were 2 of the consultants working with Zach on the material. And I happened to go by Brent Braun's shop just outside of Louisville in New Albany, Indiana. Brent was out they film in LA, right? He was out in
I believe
LA
so.
with Zach working on the stuff, and Stephanie, his wife, was in the shop. And the day before had been the one of the live shows of him
Mm.
performing. And it was the one where Howie actually gives him an X. And I don't want to say
Oh, I
any
saw that.
it's it and so she said when that happened, my heart sank. And then it turned out, well, there's kind of a reversal at the end of the routine, and the
Yeah.
Howie's miscue. I don't think it was scripted at all, but Howie's miscue actually ends up making the effect kind of stronger,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is really, really cool. So I would encourage everybody to go watch the clips of Zach performing. I don't know how free we want to be with the content, Jason. I mean, it's available. People can go watch it. We want to talk
You,
about the routines or anything, but
yeah,
the,
we
the,
don't have
the
to talk.
pieces are fantastic.
They're fantastic, but here's what's cool. For the first time, and you know what? Maybe it's been done before, but for the first, I watched him perform 3 different routines on 3 different episodes, and the magic that he was doing was interactive magic.
All of it was interactive.
The
Yeah.
type of, and I'm not talking about interactive like, will you please help me? I'm talking about interactive like everybody in the audience, the
Hmm.
judges, the people watching at home, everybody is participating in the magic. So when he says, when he snaps his finger and the magic happens, it happens directly to you. Like
Yeah.
you're like, wait a minute. And what was cool was watching some of the judges lose their minds when they're real, like Simon's looking at like Mel B and they're like, wait a minute. We just the magic just happened to each of us personally,
Yeah.
it while it also happened at the same time for everybody to, so it was like very, very cool. Ben, what was your experience watching Zach perform on AGT? Which, just for the record, I just want to say this. As I was watching, and I knew that he had done well, but I was totally, it was so nerve-wracking because just as someone who has performed routines, not the ones that he did, they created those for him, but as someone who has created magic or has performed magic tricks where the entire audience is playing along, it is extremely easy for the whole thing to get thrown off the rails. It's
Yeah.
happened to me before where I'm like, all right, if everybody, if this happened for you, please stand up. And like a quarter of the audience stays seated. I'm just like, oh, God, this is terrible. But what are your thoughts on it, Ben?
Yeah, that was what I was gonna say. I mean, I loved the performances. His energy and everything was so great. Uh, but what a swing to go. I'm gonna do magic that everyone in the audience and at home can experience, and there are so many ways for it to go wrong.
So
Hmm.
true.
Um, and so the I mean, the level of care that had to go into the scripting
Yeah.
and to make sure that everyone was on the same page and that everything would work out the way it needed to is incredible. And then I really loved, I saw two performances. I saw the one that had Howie's misfire with the X that then ends up having a nice twist. And then the one where everyone's like pointing to the screen as well. And I love that they both had really logical kickers as well.
Yeah.
Where it wasn't an overkill. It was like just a little extra boom boom, and then there you go, and you get the nice visual moment, and then this signifies that it's over. I was extremely impressed, and people that know me know that doesn't happen very often.
Ben has never been impressed by anything that I've ever done. So
yeah,
I just all that to say, Ben is being truthful there.
And you know what though? I mean, I personally like to take it back to the Eli Stone quote. He was extremely likable. He's this very, like, he smiles and like you can tell like that's him. Like
yeah.
Honestly, when he performs magic, I kind of feel like within him there's a sense of joy that is that is coming out, that he's joyful about what he's doing. And that's really, really, in a lot of cases that's kind of rare. That's really great. And so he has that incredible likability. And he also, basically, his theme, in addition to it being about interactive magic that happens to everybody, is his theme was all about his family and specifically his kids. So, and I guess the thing about that is kind of like really touches your heart, and a little bit kind of wrenches your heart if you think about it, how when he was a kid he lost one of his parents, and his theme for every appearance that he did on AGT is how important his relationship with his kids and his family is. And you know what, that's one of those things where, yes, he's a magician, and yes, he has to do magic, but you know what, like, there's a connection there with the audience that they can feel. There's like, he's communicating something that matters to so all of us. I mean, we all care about our family, or if we had poor upbringings, we wish that we'd had a family that we could have cared about. So I just thought that it was wonderful, and what he did was so well done, and he made it through to the semifinals. He didn't make the finals.
That's right.
But he did so well. My hat's off to Zach. It was just it was great. Any final thoughts you guys want to share about it?
I will just there's two things. One is, I'll just echo what you said about his authenticity, and the fact that he's working with Brent and Daniel just supports the fact that he is that guy. Magic is a small world, and there are really good, wonderful, genuine people who are doing incredible work, and those are three of them. And so it's appropriate that they, it's appropriate that Brent and Daniel were right there with them. But it's very, very clear how genuine and authentic everything that he did was. Everything that he did was him. It wasn't, he wasn't trying to force anything. Even though the routines were brand new and had just been developed, it was very clear that they were put through the Zach filter, right? That they were created specifically for him, for AGT too, but they were his voice. And what you said about, cliche or not, it was very clear he was, I'm sure he was nervous, but it was very clear that he was performing with joy. Because of what he was doing. I think that was all very legit. The other note that's relevant, and this will be worth putting in the show notes, Jason. Brent just released on YouTube a 35-minute, and I think it was Brent that released it. Maybe it was Zach. I don't know, but there is a 35-minute long show of Zach's, the material.
That's right.
And it just was released on YouTube right after his AGT appearance. So we should link to that. I haven't got to watch it yet, but I'm going to, because Zach's magic was fantastic, and he did a fantastic job creating it and delivering it. And I want to see, that caliber, good magician. I want to see them perform. But what I really am excited about with that show is watching Zach,
Right.
and watching him as a performer. As Eli said, regardless of the magic, I want to watch Zach present that show.
Hmm.
So anyway, I would just encourage everyone to check out the AGT clips, certainly, and have some fun, but check out the show, the full show that's on YouTube.
Cool. Cool. Any final thoughts, Ben? Or are you ready to move on?
I mirror that sentiment.
Okay.
Watch the
Good deal.
clips, watch the show. It's great. It really is.
You guys familiar with a guy named Brian Saint?
Oh yeah, Brian is.
Hmm.
Last time Brian was at House of Cards, first time Brian was at House of Cards, he was up to that point. He was one of my. There's different kinds of performers. There's like legends who will show up at House of Cards, and it's like, oh, of course, I have to go see them. There's people I don't know, and if I have the opportunity, I'll go see them. And most of the time, I really enjoy what they do. I'd never heard, and Brian fell into that category the first time he came. I didn't know who he was,
Yeah.
and I went and saw his show, and I fell in love with the guy. I was like, this guy is
Nice.
fantastic. I loved how he thought about magic. I love how he presented it. And he was just at House of Cards not too long ago. We had a couple of conversations. Yeah, but yeah,
S-
really, really like his style.
So I was talking to Mark Brown, friend of the show, who's actually been on the show, and Mark is a magician in this local area, performs at House of Cards, as you may recall. If you if you want to hear a cool story, go back to the IBM podcast that he was one of the one of our guests, and it's really good. But it was interesting. I was talking to Mark, and he said, I was like, "What's new, Mark?" And he said, "Well, Brian Saint was in the other day, and he said he made a comment that really made an impact on me." And I was like, okay, do tell, because they were having this conversation, and Brian basically, because Brian apparently had been watching Mark, said apparently they'd become, very friendly over the week that Brian was there. And I think that what happened is that Mark mentioned that maybe he was like, "Hey, if you see anything that you think I can improve," because Mark's super like open to constructive criticism. Like
Mhm.
he's really works very hard to get better and better. And it was very interesting what Brian said. He basically said, um, you know, there was a point when Mark said, has a card selected, and then he says, the card is replaced back in the deck. And he says, "Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find your card, but, yada, yada, yada." And he moves along with the plot of the trick. And Brian said to Mark, he said, "Honestly, Mark, I just watched you do 10 minutes of unbelievable card magic. And then you say to me, I don't think I can find your card, and I don't believe you."
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that hit me because I think that's one of those things that we don't think a lot about. We
Mhm.
just kind of say, you know, "Oh, I don't think I can find your card," because maybe we haven't done enough thought into what you should say. And it's just like such an easy out. I'll just pretend like, "Oh, I can't find your card." And but it was such an interesting point that what Mark was saying versus what Mark was had been doing were two way different things. What do you
Yeah.
guys think?
I know I've
That's
fallen into
great.
that trap before of just either not scripting at all and just saying what I say and it not necessarily making sense or there being some kind of discrepancy or disconnect like that. Or thinking about the presentation and still getting it wrong,
Sure.
where I've gotten constructive criticism or an audience member. Like Mark's example is a really prime example for this, and I can't think of the specific example from my close-up set, but I remember it happened, and I said something that was part of my presentation, my script, and there was an audience member there who I had a good rapport with, so we were friendly. It wasn't like a heckler situation, right?
Yeah.
And they said, "Yeah, sure," or "Yeah, right," and it just caught me, and I was like, I had to agree with them. Whatever they were
Mm.
saying, I don't remember if I was discounting my ability to find a card or my skill, like in Mark's situation, or if it's something else. But something I said was totally outside of what the person I had just presented to them would say or do. that the audience who I had this rapport with said, "Yeah, right."
Mhm.
As in that's just part of your script. You don't believe that. We know better, that kind of thing. And I had to rethink that moment. Again, I can't remember specifically what it was because it was a long time ago. But
That's
yeah,
one of
I
those
think
great
that's a
moments,
really
though.
important.
That's one of those great moments when the
Yeah,
audience, like, teaches you.
yeah, happens all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah,
Yeah, we fall into these patterns and it's so hard to break out of them. So it's really helpful to have people watch what you're doing, people that you trust and that you actually appreciate their advice, not just anyone who's on the internet that can make a comment. Um, but people that you trust, that can point things out that you don't think about, is so valuable, and being open to that is huge, and even being open to audience members, because I mean, aren't they what it's all about in the end,
yeah,
right? So thinking about that, the other thing that's interesting about it is that it's not just about the pattern we get into in the trick itself, but you have to look at your set or your show as a whole, because in like Mark's specific example, the problem wasn't necessarily the line, "I don't know if I can find your card." The problem was that they had already seen him do all of these amazing things, and
yeah,
because
Yeah.
of that, you have to look at the big picture.
yeah.
That trick, if that was all he was doing, or if it was his opener,
Might be fine.
fine, but it doesn't make sense in the big picture. So you got to look at the whole thing. The gestalt, I think, is the psychological term, right?
Wow,
Say it
Yeah,
again.
that's
I'd rather
impressive.
not. I think
Did you say Gustalt or
is
Justalt?
it
It's Gustalt.
is it gestalt? Okay,
Yeah,
well,
Gustalt.
there you go.
Right.
That would be my psychology degree that I got 11 years ago.
Yeah.
That the diploma is still rolled up in a tube. So
Or somebody's probably going to send me an email, but like, no, Jason, you're wrong. You're
at
just,
best,
you,
we've heard it both ways.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Excellent points, guys. And I just thought that was just one of those moments where when he said that to me, I was like, that's a moment that a lot of us just, it reminds me of when I did a show, and so funny. Scott, Jerry Fraley, our buddy.
Sure.
He
Yeah.
just was at the Magic Club literally like a month ago. I hadn't seen him in a while, and it was great to see him. But he said to me years ago when I was doing a show, I did a routine with I think what I did was Bolorama,
Hmm.
and then I did another routine, and then I think I did cardiographic, and his
Oh,
response to
yes.
me was, "Why are you using two completely different sketch pads when you're going to draw something?" And I was like, and it was like, oh, that's another really good point. It's like it's the type
Big
Because
of
this
yeah,
picture.
it's
one I
big
can't
picture.
produce a bowling ball from.
Yeah, one of them does one thing.
And something for that's a great example for like doing a stage show, but something for people to think about that do close up is, are you pulling out a different deck of cards for every trick? And I've seen
Oh.
workers that have done things, and I mean, I can't tell you, as the
I
kids
love how
say,
Scott's dying laughing right now.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I gotta say,
the
can't.
the level of cringe that I feel when they'll do, and I won't name any names, but you see someone doing a full card set, and then that deck is still out, and then they do, let's call it a deck that can't be seen, uh from and they pull out a different box, a different deck, and then they put it back in their pocket and then grab the other deck for the next trick.
Oh
No,
no.
stop,
No.
people.
I'm sorry. There's a story. I can't really share it here on the podcast, but I literally just had this conversation with another professional maybe a week and a half ago. This
That
exact
is
conversation
that is
about
awesome.
the cards, and yeah, so it's just
That
You
funny.
got
is
to
great.
think about these things if you're performing for people. The other thing is, I just had a great idea for the three of us. We should have a paid, like, Patreon type of thing podcast called Name Names, where we actually
We tell them who
it's
we're talking about.
yeah, it's
Only
not
for
gonna
those who pay us money, then we name
yeah,
names.
it's not gonna be cheap. It's
No,
gonna cost
no.
more than your I.B.M membership, but man, it'll be worth it.
Oh, I love this idea. We
Speaking of
really
your
need to think
IBM
about this
membership,
idea.
Speaking of your IBM membership, hey, gang, if you want to be a member of the International Brotherhood of Magicians, check out magician.org. That is magician, not musician, magician.org, where you can become a member. You can learn more about the Linking Ring. You can learn about our convention, which is in St. Louis in 2026. It's going to be awesome. Feel free to leave us a review the podcast, subscribe, do all the things so that you will know the next time a podcast episode comes out, because we want you to continue to engage with us. Where are you guys going to be in the next couple of weeks? Anybody anywhere coming up soon? I know you've got a couple of shifts at House of Cards. Yes, Ben?
Yep. I'll be around here.
I'll be at House of Cards next week. I go to Louisville this weekend, and yeah, and then have random shows and stuff in October.
Cool. Well, friends, it's been a whole lot of fun to share this with you. Feel free to check out the show notes. So in the show notes, you can find our socials in case you want to connect with us, and you can learn more about. I will post that thing that you mentioned to post about Zak's show in the show notes. Hey guys, for Ben Young and Scott Cantrell, my name is Jason Michaels. This has been a whole lot of fun. Thanks for joining us on the International Brotherhood of Magicians official podcast, and we will see you next time. Take care.